Welcome to episode 30 of The Joy of Writing. Back after the winter break, perhaps this is a solar-powered podcast. In this episode, I'm talking again with Fiona Melrose, author of Midwinter and Johannesburg. We discuss how she approaches her own writing, the central place it has in her life, and how she likes to teach aspiring writers. Midwinter did well, got shortlisted for the Bailey's Prize. Longlisted for the Bailey's Prize, well done. And then your second book shortly afterwards, Johannesburg, shortlisted for the Encore Prize, which is the prize for best second novel, so congrats with that. I know you've mentioned book 3, which I believe you finished, and can you say anything about it, or would that jinx the whole project?
Oh no, I'm not superstitious about it. I know some are, and I can sort of understand that there might be. At the moment, it's called I Give You My Word. Right. But I do have a history of being quite bad with book titles, so that may change. I'm frequently told I'm terrible at book titles. So at the moment, it's called I Give You My Word. It's taken me a very long time to write. It was technically difficult. I don't have the brain of a thriller writer and a sort of where I can see the great machinations of a novel with multiple storylines. It doesn't come naturally to me, and I wish I was a thriller writer for this book. It would have been so much easier, I think. Okay. But it's a novel I'm very close to, probably because I only finished it over Easter, so it still feels very, very present. And it's back to Suffolk again, right. Turn to Suffolk. But different contemporary Suffolk and historical Suffolk, a particular house in Suffolk. Okay. I won't say, and also Aldeburgh, but I won't say too much more. It's still with my agent. She's reading it now, next week or something. Okay. And we'll see if she likes it. If she doesn't, I'll phone you up and demand you delete this segment.
That's fine. That's so well. I mean, hopefully she does like it, and hopefully gets a home published and does well. On the whole business of being an author, because of course none of us are full-time authors. We've all got other jobs. How does being an author sort of fit with you on the scale of sort of things to do with your life, and how important was it for you to get your first and second books published, and what does it all mean to you? Is it just a side thing, or is it much more of a central,
it's
thing in your life?
Completely central. It's okay. Everything. It's absolutely everything. I feel like I fit the rest of my life around writing. That includes making a living. Much to my horror, I have to make a living. Isn't that annoying? Which I think all of us do. All writers. They're the sort of 5 we can mention on one hand who don't have that juggling act. Yeah. But everything the writing comes first. I'm very scheduled. I map out my week. The writing goes in first, and then I fit around everything else around it. And I'm quite ruthless in that, and quite structured in that. And I find if I don't do that, it can unravel really, really quickly, and weeks can drift by. It's. I think it's difficult. I think it's for everyone to find their own way and what works for them.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. You say you schedule your writing first, and then the full-time job can go in around it.
Yeah.
But I suppose if you want to write and you want to get it done, it's probably got to be something like that.
Exactly. Even if you're writing, when I wrote Midwinter, I wrote from Friday afternoon until early Monday morning, and I would do a chapter a weekend. I'd get the bones down over a weekend, and then edit during the week. But the week was difficult. I was doing 12-hour shifts, and it was difficult to work on the book week. But you do what you have to. I think it becomes, you have to be quite ruthless. I'm sure. I'm sure you feel that you have to be quite and say, no, I'm not coming to your boring birthday party. I'm writing my book.
Well, that is a very good point. I would agree with that. You have to be, you do have to be very firm with, I think what you're saying is you found what you want to do in life.
Yeah.
and you're going to do it. Thanks.
Yeah.
And
it's everything. It's everything to me. It's not.
Right.
I don't apologize for that. I'm ambitious, and I want to do the best I can do. I want to write masterpieces. I mean, I know that sounds ridiculous, and of course you fall short. Obviously you fall short. But I don't want to. I want to write absolutely the best version of that book I can manage.
Yeah.
And do what it takes to make that happen.
Yeah.
And of course you fail and fall short. Of course, I mean that's normal. But you have to try.
Yeah. So that brings me on to one of the best questions I've managed to ask people on the podcast is what counts to you as success in writing. I mean, you've published 2. You've got one on. I'm sure will get published, and another one on the way. I know. So, but what is it? What is the answer to that question? What for you would be success in writing? If you write a masterpiece, or what would it be?
Yeah, well, sure, but I mean, I don't know who's judging that.
Right.
Yeah, maybe if the Times says it's a masterpiece, hurrah! I've written a masterpiece. I think it changes. I'm sure, when your first novel, you just want to finish it, and then you think, I want to get published. So of course it changes over your career. I think for me, a measure, I think the ability to write whatever you want to write, and be as creative and adventurous and ambitious with form and content and everything, and have that freedom because your publisher trusts you, because of your track record.
Yeah,
I think that to me is success, and whether that takes winning a big prize to open that door may be the case. Maybe that person's won the Booker Prize now, so we better just let them write this mad 6th novel or whatever it is. I think that kind of creative freedom to me would be a measure of success, where you're not constantly having, not to self-censor, but think, I better rein that in a bit because will it be sellable? Or, there's that kind of constraint.
Yeah.
Which to me, the absence of which would now be a measure of success. And I have told my friends, if I win the Booker Prize, I'm allowed a golden retriever. So,
okay.
So the proximity of a golden retriever in my life is also a measure of success.
I like that.
So, sorry. And on cue, my dogs start barking. I'm sorry.
When you said golden retriever, they go.
They perked up. They said, not here.
No, I think you're quite right about you cannot second guess how your book will be received, and in any terms of commercial sales and all that. But it's much more a personal thing of writing the very best book you personally can. I mean, what else can you do, really? Yeah. Yeah.
And of course you want good reviews. I mean, I'm not so. Yeah. It's also, I also don't, when people say, I don't read reviews, I think, nonsense, of course you do. You Google them at midnight, Yeah. Of course, reviews from respected peers and are for me also valuable. I mean, I don't really care what websites say or whatever, but if somebody you respect as a peer, a fellow writer or a critic, sees something of value in your book, that is of course hugely gratifying and welcome, and there's a kind of generosity on their behalf that's appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. And sort of any particular reviews or comments from readers or other people that have really hit home in good ways, or maybe unsettling ways, or slightly negative ways? I mean, how do you like the reaction from people who read your books?
I don't. So I can't remember who gave me this advice, and it was another writer, and I've now forgotten who said it to me. But they said, take the best review you've got and the worst review you've got, because the truth is somewhere in between.
Okay.
And I think that's really helpful and grounding and useful as a writer.
Yeah.
I did get one review on Amazon that somebody said it's the worst book he's ever read in his life and he wants his money back. That one I remember. I laughed so hard. I just thought this was the funniest thing I'd ever read. That I remember. That was my worst review by an Amazon buyer. Oh. And then I did get a review of Midwinter from Melissa Harrison, who at the time I know her now, I didn't know her then, and I so admired her. And it was her book Clay that I'd read and thought, oh, you can write novels about the countryside and about tractors and roads. It's okay, that's allowed. And I was so admiring of her work. And then she wrote a lovely, lovely review of Midwinter in The Guardian, and that for me felt like huge kudos. That's somebody who I considered such a wonderful writer in a sort of broadsheet had written such a lovely review. Felt like the pinnacle of success
right.
when
right,
Midwinter
absolutely.
came out. Yeah. So I think that strikes me as the sort of probably the nicest review I got.
Yeah,
Midwinter.
Terrific. Wow. I mean, the bad review sounds like someone who received the book and it was damaged in the post or something.
It did make me laugh. I thought, oh dear. I mean, he needs a cup of tea and a biscuit. This one.
I think you're right there. Now, I know that you also teach creative writing.
Yes.
And I wondered what was your general sort of approach to that. So how is it an easy thing to sum up, or how would you sort of go about it?
It is. My approach is not the approach anyone else takes. If somebody does a course with me, they never land up getting lists of various points of view and various points of narration. They never land up learning about the different tenses, or it may come up, but I really am dubious of these courses which are just a sort of glorified version of a grammar class.
Yeah.
I don't see the point of that. I also don't believe you can teach people to write in the sense that if they don't have a quality of observation or a subtlety of mind, they're ever going to have it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
I would agree with that.
But by the same token, I also think that everyone should have the opportunity to write.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're entitled to be published.
Yeah.
But if somebody would like to write, they should have the joy of that. And why not? I also don't believe in discouraging somebody because they're bad at something. If there's a joy in that, they should absolutely be there. So I think my approach to writing is less about making something up. This idea that you arrive in a class and now we're going to write a novel, we're going to make up a story. I don't necessarily believe that's what's there. Rather, I teach from the assumption that the novel already exists outside of yourself as a fully formed object, a thing.
Yeah.
And your job as the writer is the process of revelation. It's more an archaeology of dusting away and unlocking all the little doors and revealing the thing that's already there in the way that a sculptor might reveal a form in rock. And so the teaching that I do is more around teaching writers how to do that than sit and learn how to plot a novel and you've got to have a protagonist and an antagonist. I mean, to me, this is just absolute bollocks. It really is. It's just couldn't be more ridiculous. Just this is for children. This is composition for children. I just think it has to. There's something much more intuitive, much more interesting in a revelatory approach to writing.
I would agree with that. I think I suppose it has its places in some things, films, screenplays, or I don't know. But
I think that's a different discipline, though. I mean, that's a different discipline. They're technical necessities in writing a screenplay that you simply must learn. You know, there are things. I don't know how to write a screenplay, and I would need to go on a course, and just the technical aspects I would need to learn. And you can teach some aspects of writing. You can teach people or remind them that they need light and shade. You can remind them that the past tense naturally renders things more nostalgic. And if they want to pace things up a bit, they need to bring their tense forward. Of course, all these things are there, but I find this sort of writing by numbers approach incredibly depressing.
Yeah.
And also the process of learning to write is the process of learning to read better.
Yes.
So that's also a lot of my teaching revolves around reading. And and becoming a better reader, because that is what is lacking. You can consume 500 books a year, you still may not know how to read properly. So it's a little bit more esoteric than I think some people are hoping for when they sign up. It's a much more fluid, more esoteric, more intuitive way of learning to write. But there's some beautiful books coming out of my classes, which I'm really excited to see finished. So some people seem to respond to it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that intuitive. I think that's the key, isn't it? It's trying to think of why you have the notion in the first place that you want to write a book. Let's try and follow that line. I like the idea of the revelatory, uncover the structure, the story. I'm always one for a good metaphor. So I always think that you're digging on the beach or something, and you find one thing which looks like the wooden prow of a ship. You turn your back, you come back, you look at it again, and oh no, it's not. It's a metal pipe or something from somewhere. But you've got to keep digging and try and uncover that thing that is waiting for you. But the process of uncovering changes it, as it were. You just got to keep going down that rabbit hole until you unearth that thing waiting for you. Because I suppose that trigger in your mind to say, I think I want to write a book now, it must sort of be welling up from somewhere where the book's there, or the kernel of the story. It might not be absolutely the last, every last word, but I do appreciate that intuitive approach. So how do you get people to actually actualize that and get on with their writing in that way?
I mean, it's just work, isn't it? I mean, I think that's also a lot of the mythology around writing is the complete lack of understanding of just hours and hours and hours and years of work. I mean, it's just that. And I think what I find my students often are quite depressed about is that how much of a novel you spend just moving people around a room, which sounds ridiculous, but you think, oh, he's in the wrong house, I've got to get him back across. So you're just moving characters around. They're driving here, they're walking there, they're opening doors, they're shutting windows. It's just tedious as hell, isn't it? So there's a lot of that. But what I always tell students when they're starting to write is that they all make the massive mistake, which is Snoopy's mistake. And poor Snoopy, he's still sitting on his roof, and he starts with Chapter 1, line 1, it was a dark and stormy night.
Right, okay.
And poor Snoopy never gets further. And I think how I get people to start their novels is to start anywhere. Just start with a scene, start with physical experience. Often tell them to always start with something physical, whether you're describing a landscape or describing a body on a chair, or if you're describing a physical sensation or the weather. Start with something physical. It grounds the reader, grounds the writer, and then let it run and see where you land up, and then put it aside and then write another scene and another scene. They could be completely unrelated, but what connects them is you, the writer. Right.
So rather like Midwinter started with a short story about the fox.
Yeah.
You have that, that. I mean, obviously much more than a scene, but. You're right. You're right. You could just start anywhere in it, and the job of reorganisation, where does Chapter 1 actually appear, comes much later. Yeah. So again, I mean, it's much more seat of the pants approach, isn't it, rather than the dreaded plotting, which I'm not a fan of plotting. I think you've just got to just write, and I prefer things like the snowflake idea, where you start with a strand or a part of the flake and grow it organically, and just see what happens. I mean, that would be the.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think it's a different kind. I think if you're writing a crime novel, obviously it's different. You have to plot it meticulously. You need to know which room
it's got to work.
And I admire that hugely, because I don't have a brain that can hold all that kind of information simultaneously. I wish I did, but I don't. But I certainly, for literary fiction, I find, for me anyway, it works to just sort of run with it, and then write a sort of really dirty draft and then fix it up later.
Yeah.
And as you say, move things around and cut things out and add in scenes to link things and just got that. And I think that's where the exciting stuff comes from. And I certainly notice with my students, they come up with some properly bonkers stuff, but it's magical and it's wonderful and it feels exciting to read it because, as you say, it's been fly by the seat of your pants writing comes through. They don't know where it's going, so then you don't either. It's I think that's more my approach.
Yeah, I do like that. I mean, just write and organise it later. It sounds so easy.
So write the book and then organise it later. Phone me in 6 months.
Where did it all start for you, the love of writing and wanting to be a writer? Can you pinpoint a moment where that thought occurred to you?
No, I have always written. I wrote little diaries as a child, I think, because my granny used to give me so much stationery. I sort of thought, oh God, I better write something in all the pretty, the Hello Kitty notebooks. I better fill them up. So maybe that's where it began. It was my overabundance of pretty stationery as a child.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I think, people say, oh, well, I had the calling. I was like, no, I have a stationery fetish. I love pretty notebooks. That's the reason. But I didn't grow up in a literary household. I didn't know any writers. I grew up in apartheid South Africa, so there was the idea of being a writer as a career it didn't even occur to me. It wasn't. I didn't know you could do such a thing. I mean, obviously somebody had to be writing the books, but they certainly didn't live where I lived. Yeah. And we had, a lot of thousands of books were banned. Then there were cultural sanctions, so there were even fewer books. So it wasn't a culture that necessarily encouraged literature at all. And certainly in my family, we're not interested in literature. They were interested in kind of political biographies. And I think my father read a Wilbur Smith every year at December, and that was it. I think that was the kind of his Christmas present, Wilbur Smith, and that was the extent of it. But I think... I don't know. I don't know when I thought, I can write a book. I think I had a go at it about 10 years previous to writing Midwinter. I had a story I wanted to write, and I was always told I could write well at school, but what does that mean? I don't know what that means. That's not the same. And then I just sort of fell into writing a novel. I did do a course. I did an MA at Birkbeck.
Yes.
Not necessarily because I wanted to publish a novel, and I arrived on the first day and everyone had read novels I'd never heard of.
Okay.
And they were all unbelievably ambitious, and I'm going to publish this, and do you know this agent and that? And I thought, I don't know what any of them are talking about. I was just there to have something to do, so I didn't die of the lack of mental stimulation in rural Suffolk. I just thought this will be nice, something fun to do. Sure. And then out of that, I became more ambitious as I went. I suddenly thought, I could do this. And I think rather ungenerously, we were in one workshop, and, the awful workshop situation where people read their work out and you think, oh, God. And I thought, I'm better than that one. And that boy who thinks he's going to be published, my book's better than his.
Yeah.
And then this horrible competitive side of me started really cranking up. And I thought, well, if they think they can get published, why do I not think I can get published?
Right, fair enough,
and it took off from there. So then I think and then I sort of got my teeth into it and then really went for it. Yeah.
So you must have a host of sort of favourite authors, maybe that that you admire and you think, ooh, I wouldn't mind if I could do something like that, for example.
Yeah, I mean the contemporary writer who I couldn't do anything like her because I'm a completely different way of writing and a worldview. And I'm not sure anyone has a worldview like hers, Deborah Levy. Okay. I just think she's extraordinary. I just sort of, she's one of the gargoyles above my door. I just adore her, and I gobble down everything she writes and everything she says and every interview.
Yeah.
I think she's just wonderful, and there are any number of others. I respond to poets as well. I think that's a huge influence in my life, and I think actually for Midwinter, when I felt I was losing Landon's voice a bit, because it was quite hard flipping between Vale and Landon's voices.
Yes.
I was so
I mean, they're
determined
related, aren't
to
they?
keep them
Literally.
separate.
Yeah.
Was I would listen to Seamus Heaney reading his good earthy Irish poems.
Yeah.
And that got me back into his voice. And he's a huge influence on me. Also in terms of writing The Natural World and Ted Hughes. Often it's poetry actually, weirdly, that kind of keeps me sustained in terms of influence.
Because I noticed, just coming back to Midwinter, you're good on dialogue. There's a lot of dialogue which really sets the characters, and you can really imagine being in the same room chatting with them. Where did that come from, if anywhere, or is that's just all you? That's not you seeing another author?
I think I'm a good listener. I think there's something to do. I heard somebody say if you're musical and you have perfect pitch, you'll write good dialogue.
Okay.
Because you can hear the intonations, and you can hear the breath in the middle of a word, or the subtleties. And I think I spent a lot of time listening to good old Suffolk boys in the pubs going on about the most inane things you've ever heard in your life, but being fascinated by the language and the rhythms and things like that. So I thank you for saying that. I don't know. I don't really know where that comes from. I couldn't really say, but I know like Zadie Smith is brilliant at dialogue, and she always says play to your strengths. If you're good at dialogue, just make a book of dialogue.
Well, yeah. Well, I can imagine that if you're in a place, Suffolk's, listening to the way people speak is sort of musical, isn't it? It's the cadence as they discuss, the latest in tractors or combine harvesters or sugar beet. That's what I remember from my childhood. Lots of sugar beet.
Acres of sugar beet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fabulous to talk to you. It's been a real pleasure, and I really enjoyed Midwinter. It took me back to Suffolk, where I grew up. Not in the exact same spot, but I was there with you, with your characters, and I really enjoyed that a great deal. So thank you for that, and really best of luck with book 3, book 4, and I'm sure there'll be many more. So Fiona, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
It's been mine, Mark. Thank you so much for your reading and your energy and your wonderful questions. Thank you.